Hey everybody, I'm Sierra.
And I'm Ben.
And welcome back to another episode of The Unsolved Couple, where every week Ben and I recap one of your original gateway drugs into true crime.
Unsolved Mysteries.
We have almost been doing this for 2 years.
Well,
A couple more weeks, right? Our first Tuesday in September. First Tuesday in September is our 2-year mark.
Technically, this is 2 years.
Well, we were really productive and we recorded how many episodes before we dropped our first one?
I'm saying, isn't this like episode 104, which would be 2 years?
Don't try to do maths with me. We're going by date. Our anniversary is based on date. Because if we were going to go by weeks, then like our wedding anniversary wouldn't really count because... No, math doesn't add. Well, because leap year, so yes, it does. Our anniversary would always be changing every 4 years.
Valid point.
And I just came up with that off the top of my head.
I'm impressed.
Thank you, speech and debate from high school. Yeah, so we're almost at our 2-year anniversary. I guess I should specify. A couple more weeks and we'll be there. Are you excited? Are you going to celebrate? You going to buy me a present?
I already have a party planned.
A surprise party?
Lots of people.
Mm-hmm. You've invited all the big wigs in the world of true crime. Is Chris Hansen going to be there?
He
never misses a party.
He's hosting it.
He's hosting. That feels kind of ominous if Keith Morris, or not Keith Morris.
It's a sting.
Yeah, that's what If he is like, if you walk into a room and he's holding a piece of paper and it's like, no, this is just my notes on what I'm supposed to go over.
If you show up before him, you know it's a problem. Because you know he's about to come through the door.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't want a party where Chris Hansen is the host.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess if he tells you beforehand, you're safe.
Especially if you walk in with like pizza. What do they always have? Also, beer, pizza and beer. They're like, I was just told to be here and show up with this. Oh, bless his heart. He's still going strong too with that show.
Good for him.
I know.
Which is crazy because you think people would catch on, but
you would think that men would learn their lesson. But it doesn't
just
seem...
a lot of bad people in the world.
It doesn't seem that they have realized that they could be getting catfished by the police. And I love the police that do that. What are we talking about on this episode? Season 5?
Episode 9.
Episode 9. And we're kind of taking it back a little bit. We've had a couple of crazy episodes with UFOs and some ghost stories. And
I have a confession to make.
You did not like this episode.
I hated it.
I don't think that's a confession. You say that almost every...
I will tell you this. I sat down to do my notes.
Mm-hmm.
And this happens every once in a while with this.
You just can't seem to get it going.
I get so angry. I get so irritated. I get irritated the way they're telling the story. I get irritated the
pace of the show.
The pace of it.
I will say, the story that Ben is covering took up like 30 plus minutes of a 48-minute show.
I get upset about the whole thing, everything. And then it just spirals into, I'm just mad at the whole world.
That's I came in here and you were dinking around on your phone. You weren't actually doing it.
I know, because I was already irritated. So I was
had been in here for 10 minutes.
That's how fast it happens. It just like that.
Okay. And then I actually offered, because I realized, so there's 4 stories. So normally on 4 stories, we do 2 and 2, right? And so Ben took took 2 and I took 2. And then as I was doing my notes, I was like, oh, my recaps are actually quite short and my notes are super short. There's not a lot of follow-up and all of this stuff. So I said, I'll take the 3rd story. And then you got all tantrumy about it. So pick a lane, Turner.
Don't be taking work. All right. Don't be just trying to cut me out of this podcast. All right. Well, quit trying to fire me. All right.
I would never. You're stuck with this for life, especially now since you're the only person on this entire ship that has ever gotten an ounce of traction on social media. So you're now permanently attached.
Sarah's upset about the reel that happened this weekend.
I'm not upset about the reel. I'm happy that the reel went viral. What I am frustrated about is the inequality of men and women on the internet, and that women's rights do not seem to get respected online. That's my problem. Representation. Females need representation on social media.
You can have all the representation. I
understand. That's what's even more annoying is that when I had to confess to you, because I've shared reels with Ben in them a couple of times, but very rarely. Follow us on social media, Unsolved Couple Pod. And so, but a couple of them are just funny and silly. And this one was as well. And so I just think it's funny that, but I had
no knowledge of this reel.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Ben had no knowledge. He never does. Ben has no social media. I don't approve them through him, nothing. I control the social media. We've been married long enough. I know what I'm allowed and not allowed to post. So I made this reel and I worked on it for a while and I posted it and we went to bed. And I woke up in the morning and I had like over 300 notifications. I thought the world had ended. As my phone throughout the night just went, everyone was like, who's this hottie with a beard? Rolling his eyes at his wife.
That is not what happened.
So then I had to tell Ben before he left that morning, whatever you were going to go do, like, hey, super quick.
And everyone was honking at me on the freeway.
I said, super quick. I did post a reel with you in it last night and it might have blown up. And he was like, what? This is the one man on the face of the earth who does not care about any ounce of that, who was even slightly annoyed that his image is now been in front of other people.
I'm still annoyed about it.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Season 5, episode 9.
Yes, I will.
You're going to start us out.
I will start us out. Let me get to the top of my notes here.
So,
my notes were up.
The tables have turned.
You can suck on my big toe if you think. All right. Albuquerque, New Mexico, August 18th. I almost said 1894, which would be a very different story, but this is 1984. It was a warm, dry night with the temperatures in the upper 90s. 10:25 p.m. A police officer stumbles out of a local pool hall called Gary's Game Room. He's been shot twice, one in the arm and once in his side, breaking several ribs. At 10:28 p.m., officers hear across the radio the words that make their stomachs drop. Officer down. And scene. That's how we start off this episode or this story. Nothing? Okay, Ben. Thank you. I appreciate it.
It was great.
Shut up. Officers Vic Webb and Rick Foley have received a tip that a woman wanted for fraud spent time at a local pool hall. The two officers arrive at the hall. They search the bar and see at the back of the bar a long, dark hallway, which most people would say, maybe we don't go down there, but these two fellows are looking for a lady, and they think maybe she's gone down there. Okay?
Police, you have no choice. You gotta go.
Oh, everyone has a choice. So as they walk down the hallway, a man with a gun comes out of nowhere, like a room, like steps out. Boom, boom, boom. He orders them to drop their weapons. And then when the two try to flee, so I would say everyone lives in this story. So both the officers, and I have some questions about Officer B, and I couldn't figure this out because they are standing in this hallway, and I think something along the lines what I would call like the funnel of death. Is that what you call those?
Fatal funnel.
Fatal funnel. There's nowhere to go.
Nope.
And if you run or try to leave, you are turning your backs to you're stuck in the spot. So for some reason, according to the guys that were interviewed, who are the cops, they do try to leave the hallway.
Yep.
And so as they turn to do so, I think one of the officers runs because he's out in the parking lot when his buddy comes out shot.
They don't tell the story very well.
Yeah.
It appears
that one of them
chaos.
ran out.
It does appear
and
that way.
I don't think that's how you're supposed to police officer. I will say, these guys were not partners. So they do tell us in Unsolved Mysteries, I don't know if it was just kind of a slower night or whatever, but an officer decides, he gets on the computer, he's looking up at bench warrants. I don't know what a bench warrant is, but I don't think it's like the top of the list of like the people that you need to like show up at their house at 3 a.m. and bang it out. I don't think that was the correct terms, but bang down the front door. But but I think a bench warrant is a little bit below like banging on the front door with the SWAT guys at 3 a.m. I think a bench warrant's like, hey, if you interact with this person or you find them.
Usually they missed like a court date or something.
Like a court bench, like they were supposed to be seated in front of the bench in front of.
And so because you missed a court date.
That's why they call it a bench warrant. Okay. I couldn't figure that out. I guess I could have looked it up, but I didn't think that far ahead. Okay. So it must be a slow night. He decides he's got some intel that this lady that's wanted in front of bench warrant hangs out at this place. So this other officer that was working that night also that is with him decides just to tag along because I'm sure sometimes when you're trying to bring people in, when they're at a pool bar having a good time and maybe winning a game and a police officer comes in and says, ma'am, you have to come with me, there might be a little bit of pushback on that. So long story short, there is a possibility that Officer B skedaddled out of there. Yes. Yes.
But I am very.
Yeah, but this is terrifying. They are in a crowded bar. It is dark, like most bars are. It's the 80s, so I bet everyone and their dog smoked indoors at that point. So it's probably hazy. According to the reenactment, the only light source available was neon pink lights.
I think I was muted when I said I think that other officer was new.
No, I think we heard you. I think.
Oh, I thought I was muted. But.
And so. These shots start like this is the worst of the worst situation. And here's the best part. This man is not even who they're there to go see. I don't know what sparked this.
Here's the thing. It's not when you're in a hallway and something like that happens. Mm-hmm. The best course of avenue is to get out of that fatal funnel and get into
course of avenue. Is that a new saying?
Course of action.
Oh, course of action.
I'm saying to get to some type of cover.
Well, yeah, and I'm glad that you can specify because to me, just as a practical person, this is the worst of the worst situations. You're in a hallway. You're also in a public space with like there are other people around. It's dark. It's smoky. Like your visibility is not good. Anyways, long story short, Officer B pieces out. I'm going to guess it's chaos and everybody's running out. It also appears like Officer A, who ends up getting shot, may have also been trying to leave because he ends up getting shot in the ribs, like I said, breaking several bones. Like, so he did have his life vest. That's not at all what it's called.
Not life vest. His bulletproof vest.
He had his life vest on. He thought that he was going out on a boat that night.
No.
He heard pool hall and he thought there was water involved.
No.
He had his floaties on too. Anyways, he has a bulletproof vest on, but they don't cover your sides, which seems like a design flaw. But breaking several ribs, and then he also gets shot in the shoulder. He is still able to like run outside, but the problem is he has now like severed an artery and his arm is completely useless because of where he was shot in the shoulder. I read he couldn't even move his arm. Like he had a dead arm from that and he's bleeding a lot. So fortunately, he is able to survive, likely because very quickly Officer B had already radioed for assistance. They're able to get him, but not only until after this kind of chaos happens, this man, they realize, has escaped. The other thing I found outside of Unsolved Mysteries, he took the officer's gun because when he got shot in the arm, he lost control of that hand, so he dropped his gun.
Yeah, I think they said that.
Oh, did they? Okay.
And
so he is now, this man is on the loose with a police officer's gun. Could be problematic.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So the assaultant is actually later identified as Lyle Moody, which Moody is such a great name. In fact, when I was in high school, I was in a play called Anything Goes, and one of the main characters is a gangster, and his name is Moody. So there you go. So he was on parole for armed robbery with a criminal record stretching back over 17 years. Ironically, the suspect that the two were actually originally looking for had been arrested 18 months earlier, but her name had not been removed from the computer. So they literally didn't even have a real reason of being there. But it's not here nor there. So meanwhile, Moody's wanted for attempted murder. He is at large. He has been spotted in New Mexico, California, and Colorado, and was last seen sometime in March of 1985. Some might say one of the best moments in time in history. March 1985. So there you go.
Some would say.
Some might say.
All right, so that's where Unsolved Mysteries
leaves us.
Okay. Do you have an update for us?
I do have an update for you. Captured. Not until 2002, though.
This irritates me.
I know. February 22nd, 2002, Moody is arrested for criminal trespassing charges in New York City. He actually gives the police a false alias named Fred Darren, but authorities ran his fingerprints in the database and discovered he's a wanted fugitive. He's extradited to New Mexico, where he is found guilty of 2 counts of assault and aggravated battery. Sentenced at that time to only 12 years in prison.
That's the other part that upsets me.
And then in November of 2010 is paroled after only serving 6 years. Now, mind you, this man had a criminal record that went back 17 years for all kinds of terrible things. Armed robbery, and he was on parole at the time. If he was on parole, why didn't that time that he should have served for his parole being...
There's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And
I tried to look. Lyle Moody is a very common name.
Yeah.
I could not find a single thing about him that I could definitively say was him. He also has several aliases that he's gone by.
Yeah, but he doesn't use.
I cannot imagine that he has kept his nose clean since then. But
no, so he literally tries to kill 2 police officers and opens fire in a public space, putting them on
in 1984, and didn't get caught till 2002.
So he gets to hang out for 18 years, and then he only does 6 years and walks free.
Yep.
Ridiculous.
I agree. Okay. Ben has got a really fun story for us. Buckle up.
Buttercup. All right. This is a story of a Vietnam vet who is technically a P.O.W. We get told this is the story of Marion Shelton. That's the wife. She is the wife of Colonel Charles Shelton. And Robert Stack comes on to tell us that he was shot down in the spring of 1965. And he is to that, at least at that time, while this is being filmed, the only serviceman who is still listed as a prisoner of war. So.
Did you say, sorry, for what war?
Vietnam. 1965 would be Vietnam War.
Well, smarty pants, not all of us.
I think I did say that.
But for the record, not all of us can just say the year of a war and be like, oh, clearly that's where we were. Unless it's the war of 1918. 1819 is actually what I was thinking about. Then
You're
I know
still wrong.
What is the war?
Clearly.
1719? 1819. Isn't it 18 something?
1812.
Yes, that's what I meant. I was testing you. The War of 1812. That's the only time I know what you're talking about.
You can't even.
And I don't even know what the war was about.
All right. That's a podcast for another day. All right. I do love Robert Stack throws shade on the military right off the bat.
You can tell. Here's the thing. I think this man loved veterans, and we're going to find out that sometimes they're not always treated the best by our own military, unfortunately, and he throws it out pretty quickly to them.
Yeah, he pretty much just says representatives of the armed services declined to participate in the broadcast. And good for Robert Stack, like throwing it out there, holding their feet to the fire, because their feet should be held to the fire on this story.
And I will say, Unsolved Mysteries did right by inviting them to share their half of, because we're going to get a lot of things that, I'll be honest, I was a little taken aback by.
Yeah, and I dug into a little bit more stuff on the general topic of this. So Marion and Charles were high school sweethearts. They married in 1951. They had 5 children. Charles joined the Air Force in 1954, and he moved up the ranks pretty quickly. In 1962, he was sent to Saigon to train Vietnam pilots. Okay. 3 years later, he began flying top secret reconnaissance missions over Laos. Okay. He was stationed in Japan and Okinawa, Japan, which is where he was stationed. His family lived, obviously, because they lived with him and they were living on base. And on April 20th, 1965, at that time, he was leaving for several weeks at a time, and he was flying these missions, these top secret missions. He would come home, and it was kind of back and forth, because I'll have to look. I think I could be wrong. We didn't officially declare war and go into Vietnam till 1964, I want to say.
Yeah, sure. Do you want me to Google it? Because I do not have that information off the top of my head.
So, but in 1965, the war was still very new and going on. April 20th, 1965, he left for the last time to never be seen again. April 29th, 1965, which was technically Charles's 33rd birthday. And we get his kids are on telling the story. It looks like his son is a pastor.
For the record, the United States never declared war during the Vietnam conflict.
Okay, well, we were at war, and everyone knew
we did the
draft.
We can say technically we never said we were going to do it. Technically, we didn't say
we drafted kids.
We never said. Isn't that insane? We never declared war, but we drafted kids. Oh, the government.
So, on his 33rd birthday, April 29th, 1965, his family was actually kind of throwing a birthday party for him. Even though he wasn't there, his wife was throwing this party for him. They were very much in love, and she clearly loved her husband deeply. And
here's a little bit more information, just so you know.
Okay.
So the Gulf of Tonkin, Tonkin resolution passed by Congress August 7th, 1964, gave President Lyndon B. Johnson broad authority to conduct military operations in Southeast Asia without formally declaring war. So our government built themselves into a loophole.
Which is kind of stupid, because if Congress gave them that we're
it's
a
the
war.
same thing, just a different words.
So,
yeah.
I mean, and here's the thing. We all know it to be.
But the large-scale deployment didn't actually ramp up until about 1965. So you were right on with your kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is very early on in the war. So like I said, he's shot down on April 29th, 1965. She finds out about it. In the reenactment, they pretty much come and tell her, hey, he's been shot down. He's okay. We've been in radio contact with him. were trying to rescue him. I guess they said he parachuted out over in Laos. He's in contact with them. They said they even had visual of him, but due to a massive weather change, they were unable to get to him. And so they weren't able to rescue him. He evaded capture for several days, but eventually he was captured. We get a military guy on, not representing the armed services, but just another guy. He's like, listen, if this had been 1968, he would have been rescued in an hour and a half. But there wasn't a lot of search and rescue operations in place and protocols, so it took way too long to get him out. Plus, it was Vietnam. The jungle was just crazy over there. I read some books on it. It is wild.
And it was nothing like any of our servicemen had ever encountered. Like we have nothing here in the United States that even gets close to the terrain over there. No. Yeah.
And it was new for us. We hadn't really operated in that type of, it was the same one.
Well, and he was flying top secret missions too, right? So that makes things a little bit difficult, because was he even really quote unquote supposed to be there? No, he wasn't. Exactly.
So I read a book years ago. I think it was during your gallbladder surgery when I took off work.
HIPAA violation, just telling everybody about my medical issues.
And I read this book of a guy who was a special forces, and he was doing secret missions in Laos. And it was, the stories they tell is wild.
Well, and I was under the impression that if you're doing secret stuff for the military, if you get yourself into trouble, you're kind of on your own, because they can't document search and rescue for things that weren't supposed to be happening. And not that that is an excuse at all, but that there is a very innate risk in working in that sort of kind of realm of the government service.
So Marion gets all of his effects back, obviously, after he's been captured. And she notices as she's going through his trunk, we were just saying, his dog tags and his military ID and all that are in his trunk, which he's technically supposed to have on him when he's out there. And then he has a camera in there. She develops the film, and there's a picture of him standing next to his aircraft, and he is in a watered down suit. There's no patches, no insignia on his suit.
Which again makes sense if he wasn't supposed to be there. They were preparing where if you went down.
Well, he was supposed to be there because the government put him there. But
yes, but the government has plausible deniability, and if there's no patches, they could even say it's not our guy.
Because Robert Stack even comes on and says the government, even to this time, hasn't admitted that we were in Laos, which does kind of make it hard. Why the that would be, I don't know, why would they be telling the family all of this if we weren't even supposed to be there? I found out in my research, the government didn't officially say that we did missions in Laos until 1997.
Yeah.
So the family returns to Kentucky, which is where they're from. And she then is spending a lot of her time. She's waiting. Obviously, he's a prisoner of war, but just kind of hoping for the best. And they're continuing to hear stories. Guys are coming back from the war. They hear stories that he's alive. They even get stories that he was extremely defiant to these people and fighting back. And he was trying to escape. He made multiple escape attempts. But unfortunately, they don't hear a whole lot. They even hear a story of how he was kept in like a shallow grave with metal bars over the top. Just probably a lot of horrible things you don't want to hear as a family. All right, January 27th, 1973, Nixon finally announces the end of the war, and that within the next 60 days, all prisoners would be released. And they tell people they're getting 2 lists of POWs and that, and they would be contacting the family on if your loved one was on the list of people still alive or deceased and how they died, and that they would be contacting all these families. After several days, the military finally does call. but he's not on the list of survivors. But his remains never return. So they still don't know where he is. Shortly, so I'm trying to find my spot in my notes. April 29th, 1975. So technically 10 years to the day that he was shot down. Saigon falls, and a bunch of refugees end up fleeing back to the United States.
People that were prisoners of war that were not released, is that what a refugee would be? Because I was confused. Or are refugees people that were from that area and fled?
So I doing a little research. Like, we stopped fighting in 73, but we were fighting for not North Vietnamese. Mm-hmm. They were the ones we were fighting against. Yeah. And the South Vietnamese, we were helping, and we were helping train them and fighting with them. Well, they were still fighting the North Vietnamese. We were just not really fighting anymore. Mm-hmm.
We had pulled out, but the war was still
North
going
Vietnamese won. Okay. And they did they ended up taking Saigon, and we were still had like diplomatic presence there. And that's where we get those pictures of them helicoptering people out of like Saigon.
Yeah.
Because North Vietnamese ended up bombing the runways, so planes couldn't get out.
Yeah.
So we were helicoptering payment. We ended up leaving a lot. So all these people that we were helping fight, and they were fighting for
who, if they had been still there, even if they were citizens of that country,
they were trying to flee, they were get out, and we were taking them in because we were trying to help them.
Got it.
All of these people are coming into America and other parts of the free world, the Western world.
Okay.
And they're getting told all these stories of, oh yeah, there's still a lot.
That's right. There's still a bunch of POWs,
service members still alive. They're still holding them.
Yeah.
So that obviously those stories make it back to the family. They're still now holding out hope. Marion ends up at some point, she travels to Laos with a reporter and is trying to find information on her husband. She's not able to really find anything, get any concrete evidence. I will say this is one thing that upset me. We get a representative, a congressman. He was fighting for a lot of these POWs, and he comes in and tells us, he's like, yeah, so these refugees, they came here. They're telling these stories of how service members are still alive being held captive. And the government withheld the refugee accounts and put them in classified files just so pretty much they wouldn't have to acknowledge that this was happening.
That doesn't sound like our government.
I know.
This bolsters every critique I ever have. Like, I'm way more conspiracy theory than you are, and I do not trust the government. But like, why? Why did you do that? To keep stuff from families? Why? Because you only care about yourself. You don't want any accountability. You don't want people questioning you, and you don't want to have to ever say that maybe you messed up.
I'll get on my soapbox after I tell this story. So Marion ends up filing for a Freedom of Information Act for anything that has to relate to her husband. And she gets a bunch of information, CIA documents, all kinds of stuff. Turns out that there was still documentation. The CIA had informants and stuff pretty much saying that, hey, yeah, Colonel Charles Sheldon is still alive. All the way up until 1983, there was supposed stories that he was still alive. The story of him trying to be interrogated, and he killed multiple of them while he was trying to be interrogated. How is
there not a movie about this guy? This sounds like a Jason Bourne style guy.
They supposedly he kept trying to escape, so they shot him in the leg to try to get him to stop escaping. I remember that
story. Yeah.
So
he was basically like the biggest pain in their backside.
Yeah, his story was making its rounds. Mm-hmm. So obviously, Marion is fighting hard for her husband. October 7th, 1980, there was what was called priority hearings, and they were trying to classify pretty much all the service members that were still missing as most likely killed. And they classified 793 servicemen as presumed dead.
Even though they had intel that they were still keeping prisoners over there.
Yeah, but obviously they were taking that intel and keeping it classified. And so Marion fought. She fought and tried to speak about it. They still classified him as presumed dead. But 4 years later, the Secretary of the Air Force, he refused to follow that recommendation from the board. And he classified Colonel Charles Shelton as a P.O.W. And so that put him as still the only living P.O.W. in the Vietnam War. Everyone else was classified as presumed dead. So this became her lifelong mission. She would go on talk shows. She'd go on national television. And she was a big...
She takes a very sad turn at this point.
This is a very sad part of the story.
I was not expecting this. Yeah, but it makes sense.
She was a big component of the POW MIA movement at that time. Kind of pretty much the head of it.
She was the face, the voice, and everything. Yeah.
But she clearly was struggling with this. And she would continually drink to the point, I guess, she had to check herself into multiple.
Yeah, one of her kids was interviewed, wasn't he?
Multiple of their children was interviewed.
Yeah, and I think it was the daughter who kind of shared, just like they also lost their mom to this POW because she was, and I can imagine, you're hearing these stories that this man you've loved since you were a teenager is still alive across the world and you can't find him or get to him. That would make me a crazy person. And then you're still campaigning and you're fighting this cause. And your David and Goliath is the government. And they could change this. They could find this guy. They could go in and rescue him. And they just choose not to. So you feel like a peon. Yeah. And so it sounds like she turned to drinking. She would be out campaigning and working and pushing for hours and hours and hours.
She did marches and stuff like that.
And then would just come home and sleep and drink and recover, and really kind of then stepped out of her role in it destroyed her life.
Yep.
Yeah.
October 4th, 1990, she was found dead. She'd shot herself in the head by suicide due to all of this. Yeah. 25 years she tried. She
was being gaslit by the government.
They play a clip of one of her speeches. And I wrote this down because I thought this pretty much sums up this story. She goes, I prepared myself, as did my husband, for him to be wounded, captured, or killed. But we never prepared for him to be abandoned by his own country. And that's pretty much where Unsolved Mysteries leaves us. Get a few last quotes from his kids.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of...
Okay, I can't imagine that the government has taken any ownership or changed much about this story. So is there any updates at all?
The only update I have is the children did request that the Air Force officially change his status to killed in action in 1994.
He probably just wanted to put it to rest.
Well, by that time, I think it probably was safe to say that he was had passed away. That does not mean that he passed away in 1965 or at any point during the war. He could have very well been alive for many of years.
Yeah. And I can't imagine living a comfortable life.
No. I mean, he was a prisoner of war.
Yeah. And the war camps over there or the prisons there are no joke.
So he was classified as killed in action, and he was given a grave and a memorial at Arlington Cemetery. Yeah. This is my soapbox. It's very frustrating. I did some more research on this. Let me pull my other notes up. If I can get it. I looked into how many did we actually leave behind in Vietnam. And originally in the Vietnam War, we left behind 2,646 military personnel, bodies and men.
And these were men that were Probably most of them were drafted and did not even choose.
To this day, 1,566 personnel are still missing. 1,233 in Vietnam, 278 in Laos, 48 in Cambodia. So obviously
almost half of the amount of people they left over there to start with, they never were able to account for.
And that's very frustrating to me because here's the thing. It's clear the military has learned their lesson with no man left behind. We don't leave our service in. I looked in Afghanistan. We did leave behind many people that helped us, which is a tragedy. The pull out of Afghanistan is a complete disaster. But service members, we left zero.
There was 0 prisoners of war left behind, like nothing at all.
We didn't leave any remain.
Okay.
And maybe if there's a family out there.
Yeah, if there is a family that isn't the case, please reach out and let us know. But according to the government, no one was left. Does the government acknowledge that we abandoned our allies there?
In Afghanistan? Mm-hmm. They don't want to, but it's very clear we did.
Well, I understand that it's very clear, yeah.
But yes, we did. We left.
Yeah.
I will say, I guess there are several, when I did this research, like there's people that had like dual citizenship, so they had family ties there. They stayed there. They just, at least, well, the government says they chose to stay there.
Oh, they chose to stay.
But meaning like remains, we didn't leave any remains behind, right? But yes, for some reason in Vietnam, we left way too many people behind. And then for us to have done these secret missions in Laos and to just leave these men behind is a tragedy. And what's very frustrating is even after the war ended, you said it ended, but it didn't because you never really acknowledged the full war. You never acknowledged what we were doing in Laos and in Cambodia. And anything that happened there, you pretty much just washed under the rug and left all of that behind. Very frustrating. The story of this family breaks my heart because it did. They fought and the government just pretty much just said, no, there's nothing we can do.
Yeah, I think because we've covered another POW story earlier in Unsolved Mysteries. My rant and rave is probably 98% of the men and women in our military are underpaid and underappreciated. A lot of them are kids straight out of high school that join the military because they need a leg up in some way or they love their country. And they move up in the ranks and they do all these things, but they're never promoted to officer status or VIP or executive statuses. And a lot of their basic needs are quote unquote taken care of, but they are treated sometimes by our government who sit there in their $1 million offices and their private parking spots and their personal chauffeurs and their expense accounts and their lunch accounts and their comp accounts and their free travel all over the world where they get to swim in bathtubs with money and hire women of the night. And then we treat these men and women like they're a commodity that is completely expendable. And nothing makes me more angry because you self-inflated wannabes in Congress and in government and leadership could not do what you are doing without the men and women that lace up their boots and drag themselves through mud at boot camp and kiss their babies on the forehead and leave their wives and children for months at a time and come home to their basic 4-bedroom house or 3-bedroom houses and just try to keep the lights on. And you act as if you cannot be bothered to give an ounce of respect. And I know that not every we have some congressmen and women that definitely fight for our veterans and stuff, but I just feel like there is this huge disconnect between what power we have as America in the world governments, how quickly we forget the way we got there was on the backs of men and women who are willing to put their lives on the line every day.
I agree. I have the utmost respect for any man that puts on the uniform, any man or woman that puts on the uniform. And so it is a tragedy to me that you ask these people to go sacrifice themselves, their lives, put themselves in danger. And the least you can do is do everything in your power to bring them home.
Or be honest that you're not willing to do it.
No.
And here's the thing.
That's your job as the government.
I agree 100%, but at least own up to how cowardless you are. But the fact that you continue to lie and hide and pretend makes you the worst of the worst.
No, you can't. To me, even trying to own it is not your job. You work for the people. Your job is to protect them to the best of their ability. And then when they do make that ultimate sacrifice, do everything you can to bring them home. And don't get me wrong, like I've read some books on Vietnam, and when helicopters went down in jungles, they would try, and sometimes it was so thick that even a helicopter going down, they couldn't find it. And they tried. They tried to find these helicopters and find these men and bring them home. And that was a tragedy. Unfortunately, I don't think the technology existed at that time to know exactly where those helicopters went down. So I know a lot of those service members that didn't come home were the result of that. Because I read a book from a helicopter pilot, because sometimes once you went under the canopy of the jungle, you were gone. Like there was no finding.
The whole Vietnam War in itself is it is literally a tragedy from start to finish.
But that wasn't this case. The government made no effort to bring this man home. And
no, they made an effort to pretend to hide it.
That's where I have this massive problem. So you didn't make any effort. And no service member should feel like he was left behind.
I agree. Well, I hope his kids have found some comfort and solace and find joy in their life. And I wish them nothing but the best.
But it's just too bad because that family, one, they lost their dad to the war. And then they lost their mom.
To her personal war to fight for her husband.
Yes.
Yeah.
They lost both their parents to that tragedy.
Yeah. Well, my personal opinion, the government should compensate him. They should be entitled. They should have filed a civil lawsuit against him. Okay. I'm going to tell you a story about a young woman named Rebecca Young. So May 1st, 1991, a 911 dispatcher in Miami, Florida, receives a call from a man claiming he had witnessed a horrific murder in Belagade, about 80 miles north of Miami. I did do a little bit more research on this area. We're going to find out this area they grow sugarcane. And in order to grow sugarcane there, the water levels have to be like raised. Like it's like soggy ground everywhere. It's like living in like muck. They call it, the actual term for like the landscape is muck landscape. So everything's just soggy and wet all the time, which sounds like I can't breathe when I talk about it. So he'd also seen part of the killer's license plate number, and the dispatcher was struggling to understand him because he was speaking very rapidly and also in Spanish. There's actually several places you can find this 911 recording. I tried to listen to it. First off, the recording is not great quality. The man is calling from a payphone. The connection's not great. He is speaking very fast. He is speaking in very fast Spanish. It is hard to understand. And even to this day, I could barely even make out the words he was saying in his own language. So she connects him with a detective named Bert Blanco. I'm going to assume the reason she did that is because Bert was probably a better Spanish speaker than she was. We don't really say. That's what I'm just trying to conclude.
I thought that's what they said in the...
They just said that she moved him over to a detective who maybe could understand him better. So
I thought so because he could speak Spanish. And
I want everyone to realize in the 90s in Miami, it was a melting pot of Spanish cultures because you had a lot of people who had fled Cuba You are also very close to the east side of like Mexico and stuff like this. You get a lot of people that come through. It is a very, and you're close to like Spain and all of this stuff. It is a mixture of these cultures.
I think it's still that way.
Oh yeah, 100%. But Miami was booming because of what was happening with Fidel Castro in that area. We also had the drug wars happening at that time. Miami was a wild place. So it's a lot's happening in this area. So the 911 caller, in a very rushed and nervous voice, describes a gruesome murder he had witnessed. They said days earlier. I found out he had waited a week before he called in. So he tells Detective Burt, no word on where Ernie was, that he had been hunting illegally in a sugarcane field. He did find out he was hunting rabbits, and that's going to be important here in a second. Well, I can tell you now. He had a gun in the reenactment, and it looked like he had a freaking huge shotgun in the reenactment. I did some more research. Hunting rabbits, especially illegally, which I didn't know it was illegal to hunt rabbits in the first place. More questions on that. Because you would have not wanted to make a lot of noise, it's likely that he had a little teeny tiny, either a BB gun or like, what's the next step up, a 22?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
probably not a BB gun.
I'm just telling you. They said that you can hunt rabbits with a BB gun. I don't know how much damage you're going to do with that, but that's just what Google told me. Because my first question is, and I get fears, everyone has fight or flight syndrome, but I'm like, this guy saw this happening and he had a freaking, according to the reenactment, a humongo like shotgun in his hand. Why didn't he do anything? And maybe that's unfair to him, but it sounds like it's likely he didn't really have a violent gun. I don't know, is there anything such as not a violent gun?
I'm sorry, what? A violent gun?
On the scale of BB gun to what's the most aggressive gun? An automatic assault rifle, maybe? He had he was on the very bottom level of the violence of the guns.
Guns are not violent.
People wielding them are. You get what okay, powerful. Is that better? The most damage it can be created. That's what I mean by violent, is damage. Okay? The BB gun and the 22 in comparison with a bazooka, the damage created is very different. True? True, Ben?
I guess.
Yes,
I don't know who owns a
shoot
bazooka,
a
rabbit with a bazooka.
There's not going to be any of the rabbits not going to be left. So choose your weapon wisely, as they say at the beginning of most video games. So, any hoozles. So he's in a sugarcane field hunting wabbits with a little tiny gun. He hears a vehicle approaching. Obviously, since it appears that he is not supposed to be there, he ducks into the sugarcane and ducks down and hides. As he's hiding through the sugarcane, he can see a blue Ford Bronco pull up and a man and a woman get out of the vehicle. And the man's name appears to be Ricardo because she calls him by that name. So according to the caller, the two began a very heated argument. Apparently, the assumption is that this might be over some sort of drug debt or drugs in some way, shape, or form. We have zero confirmation on that, but that's what his assumption is. The man demands money. The woman says she doesn't have it. Another man gets out of the car. He believes that the man might be Cuban. And then the conversation or argument is escalating and escalating. And the caller believes that Ricardo is likely Mexican based on the way he spoke. I'm not sure why he thought the other gentleman was Cuban, but that's what we have. And the woman shouts, "Ricardo, don't kill me, Ricardo." And he then...
I work with Cubans, Puerto Ricans, and Mexicans.
I do not mean to sound ignorant. And
no, I'm saying...
I don't know if you lined them up and said, "Hey, can you tell me who, like, not even, I could believe that they all distinctly look very different or have different things. I couldn't tell you which area they were from.
I mean it. Well, I work with multiple Puerto Ricans. Their accent and the way they speak is very distinct.
This time in San Juan, which is in Puerto Rico, do you know they have a Barack Obama statue?
Yeah, I know from that song.
And casino and slot machines in the bus station.
From that song, yeah. I was saying, so I work with
Puerto Ricans,
Cubans, and guys from Mexico. Ask them; they will be able to tell you. Oh, he's this, he's that, because of their accent, the way they speak.
Yeah,
it's very
here in America. If you said who's from Brooklyn, who's from Louisiana, or who's Cajun, like I would be able to tell you those things.
So I think it's important because it's clear this guy that's speaks Spanish. He is of some type of Hispanic descent.
Yeah.
And it's important. It's like, yeah, one of them was this, one of them was Cuban, one of them was Mexican. And he probably did know because of the way they spoke and the way their accent.
That's a good point. So then he goes on to describe one of the most brutal murders I think we've seen, at least on Unsolved Mysteries yet. This man watches this happen, and I can't imagine seeing this in real life. The Mexican man repeatedly strikes her until she is dead with a machete. Yeah. They showed in the reenactment him having, it's hard because the reenactment looks like he has either a baseball bat or he has got something silver in his hand, but you can't really tell that it's like a full-on machete. He literally whacks her with the blade side until she dies.
This is like drug cartel.
It's cartel. That's what it made me think of, right? Yeah, this is very cartel-esque murder style. A machete is no joke.
Yeah.
But that seems very in line with some of the cartel murders that living on the southern border we've seen and heard of.
Well, Miami's like big Colombian
cartels. Oh, yeah. Especially in the early 90s. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure there was territories and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. So the other man and him, once this woman has passed away, drag her body and take off. Terrified that he would be seen and obviously killed too, the caller dropped to his knees and hides until the Bronco drives away. And as they're driving away, he remembers seeing a 7 and a 2 on the license plate. So he flees the area. And about a week later, he decides like he has to report this. And he tells the police that the sugarcane field is located behind a building shaped like an ice cream cone. And no joke, the next shot on Unsolved Mysteries is a building that looks exactly like an ice cream cone. It is a plastic ice cream cone building. And it's like called the Swirly Twirly or the Tasty Swirl or Tasty Treats, Swirly Treats, something like that. Ice cream place. Seems like a popular chain. It's still in business in and around the Florida areas today. I've never eaten at one of these personally, but Detective Frank Mayo looks like he has frequented a few of these Tasty Treats before. He knew exactly what he was talking about. So he's with the Palm Beach.
You throwing shade on the detective?
Not throwing. I'm just saying it looked like he enjoyed a tasty treat.
We all enjoy a tasty treat.
From the Frosty Freeze or whatever the place is called, the Twisty Twirly.
How many different names are you going to give this place?
No. So Detective Frank says, oh yeah, Sally Sue at the Curly Twirly ice cream store. He stopped in there first, grabbed a cone, and then he's got a cone and he's driving down through the sugarcane fields. And he is able to locate the body. Oh, I wrote it down. Twisty Treat is the name of the place.
So we didn't have to go through all those names. You had it written down.
You know what? There's a bunch of $1 million ideas there. If you want to open an ice cream shop, I've got all those. They're free to use, any of them. Just name one of the ice creams after the Unsolved Couple.
You could have just given us the name from the beginning.
It just had to go down farther in my notes. So he stops to investigate something within this tall grass he notices. He realizes it's the body of the woman. However, due to the advanced decomposition, he could not determine her race or identity, but immediately notifies headquarters. A team of investigators stops real quick for an ice cream cone and then is dispatched to the scene. Detective Mark Lewis described this as a particularly heinous crime. I'm just picturing these men all standing around a sugar cane filled with vanilla cones in their hands. Believing that a killer had completely disregard for human life, investigators determined that the woman had died from multiple wounds, presumably inflicted with a machete. So the story backs up to the gentleman on the 911 call. She had been there for at least a week, if not longer, because she had begun to mummify. Although most of her fingers had already turned to skeleton, investigators are able to obtain a thumbprint from her right hand, and she is identified as Rebecca Young, a 21-year-old resident of Bella Glade. Rebecca had already experienced tragedy in life. Ironically and sadly, her mother was also murdered. I tried to look into her mother's murder to see if there was any information, if it had been solved, if there was an investigation, if there was an update or tip line or anything. There is nothing about her mother's murder available online. Nothing. No one's looking. I can't find anything about it. And I was at a loss that we couldn't find this, but sadly, I'm not surprised. So when Rebecca is 12, her mother is murdered, and she then goes to live with her aunt, Lucille, who is interviewed on Unsolved Mysteries and seems like the aunt of a lifetime. She is like, loves, because Rebecca has a younger brother, and her aunt takes her and her brother in, and she just has like nothing but amazing things that she describes their relationship as part friendship, part sisterhood, part mother, part daughter. She even refers to them like they were each other's grandparents. It seems like these three were just had each other, and that relationship meant everything. And she said Rebecca was quiet and shy and kind and just loved being around people. As far as like, if anyone needed anything, she was like the girl to go to. So police obviously now have to try to investigate Rebecca's background, or something that we call victimology, and find out who she had interacted with that could have potentially wanted to end her life. And after high school, sadly, Rebecca becomes involved with a man who is known as a petty criminal. And I will say, Unsolved Mysteries talks about it, that he introduced her into drugs and prostitution and threatened her that if she didn't stay in this lifestyle, that he would beat her and intimidate her. For the record, today we call that human trafficking. And that's actually what's so scary about human trafficking is I think you and I have talked about this before. That movie, what was it, Taken, showed this crazy story of, is it Liam Neeson or whatever his name is?
Yeah.
You know, goes after his daughter who is like kidnapped as she lands in Paris and all of this stuff. And we have this in our mind that human trafficking looks like that it's a movie and it doesn't happen very often. 99.9% of the time, human trafficking looks like this. A man lures a woman in, makes her fall in love with him, and then literally entraps her in this lifestyle and gives her no choice. And to think that this young, sweet girl by the age of 21 has been trafficked in her own hometown is heartbreaking. And while they don't believe that he actually contributed physically to her murder, they believe that in his line of work, or because he robbed people, or he might have wronged somebody in the drug world, especially with the cartels and Colombia being so close and present in that area, that maybe Rebecca was left to suffer the consequences. So fast forward May 14th, 1991, we get this weird thing. I actually don't think this ends up being anything long-term, but Unsolved Mysteries talks about it, so I'll let you know. They determined they might have a possible suspect, a local man who reportedly told a sex worker, likely another trafficked victim, that he had taken the life of an African-American woman. Police pull him over. He appears to be heavily intoxicated. The guy that pulled him over said they had questions for him about this murder, and he immediately lawyers up. And they had to let him go, and they have no evidence tying him to the murder, so he's released. Despite that, investigators remain convinced that it's likely he was involved. So police are now conducting all-out search for the elusive eyewitness. That's what Unsolved Mysteries is actually trying to find. They want to find the gentleman that called 911 so that they can maybe get more information from him. Little is known about him. His name is Antonio. He called from a payphone because he claims he does not have a phone at home. And the police believe that his accent sounded like he was originally from Cuba. So, they are wanting him to know that he will not be charged with any crimes for coming forward. I think they wanted to let that know because I think there's a likelihood that he was here in the country illegally, or that he was nervous because he was out hunting rabbits illegally, or probably on property he wasn't supposed to be on, and that he can come forward with no consequences in regards to that. And that is kind of where Unsolved Mystery leaves us.
All right. Give us an update and make it good.
Unfortunately, this crime remains not just a little unsolved, but ice cold. And it doesn't seem that anyone in this county, Palm Beach County, gives two shizzes about this getting solved. There hasn't been a single update on this since like 1992, 1993. The trail went cold went on it, and that guy has a reputation of like going deep and finding amazing sources. He couldn't find a single thing on this either. Literally, this girl has been completely forgotten. There's no update that this man ever called in again. No one has ever claimed that their father or their grandfather, or uncle or brother was the man that did this. There's nothing out there. No movement, no nothing.
If this was drug cartels at that point, I mean...
So I'll say this. If you have any information about the murder of Rebecca Young, please contact the Palm Beach Sheriff County Office at 561-688-3000. You can remain anonymous. I mean, it's very possible that the men that did this were involved with cartel. They may have even been here illegally as well. It's a heartbreaking story because it doesn't, because I even looked to see, they kept saying that they thought maybe this was drug related, or at least that's what the 911 caller thought. They didn't release anything about this woman's autopsy. I don't know if she even had drugs in her system. I don't think she was the problem. Most of the time when people want their money, they don't take out the life of the person whose money they want. They tend to hurt the people closest to them that they think we're going to get our money. But there was two men involved. So there was a witness to this crime. I also, if this was a blue Ford Bronco, the town wasn't very big. It was north of Miami, but it wasn't huge. Yeah. And they had two numbers that it could at least limit it down a little bit, don't you think?
If it's the drug cartels, they probably came from Miami. They probably drove up there. I don't know. I don't know.
It's just sad that literally no one has spoken about this since like Unsolved Mysteries featured it.
Yeah, it is. It's a sad story.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Okay. All right. We've got our next story that I offered to take. So I went and did all of my research and did my notes. And then Ben had a temper tantrum.
Oh, dear.
So would you like to tell the story?
Yeah. This is an alert. FBI called Unsolved Mysteries.
This is a special
alert. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because we have an escaped prisoner, Richard Lee McNair. He escaped from a North Dakota state penitentiary. You get told he was a model prisoner. He even helped with like the Scared Straight program.
Did you have this?
What?
The timeline on this model prisoner BS?
No, but I bet you do.
I do.
Okay.
We are told when this airs, which is about 1992, right? that he was a model prisoner. And all these people at the prison are acting like this was the most shocking information because he was part of the Scared Straight program, which, whatever. I went to the Scared Straight program and
it didn't scare you straight.
Well, I got permission to go there as a goody two-shoe. I've already shared that information here on another podcast, an earlier episode. But the best part is when I actually looked into the timeline of this man's track record. He and another inmate had tried to escape in 1991, got fairly far with it before they failed their attempt.
He also tried to escape when he originally got arrested.
Yes. So how that...
Before he even went on trial.
I just feel like the guy was trying to feed us a line of BS that this guy's missing.
Absolutely.
He was a model inmate, except less than a year ago, he had a 90% successful attempt already once. And then you let him work around kids where he had all this extra access to areas of the prison he normally wouldn't have. What?
Did you read the story of when he tried to escape when he was originally being charged and interviewed for the...
Oh, did you? Ben, I've got a handful of his tips and tricks down below afterwards we can go over.
Yeah,
Did you watch the dash cam video?
No.
Oh, okay. We'll get into that later. But yeah, go ahead. Continue.
When he originally was questioned or something, before he went to trial, he tried to escape. He runs out. They chase him. He runs up in a building onto a roof. He gets cornered and he thinks it's a good idea to jump. And he's trying to jump into his tree and grab a branch. The branch broke and he fell and hurt his back. And he was pretty easy to capture after that. But he was in prison because...
But despite those two things, he's a model prisoner.
He's not a model prisoner. He's not... He wasn't violent in prison. He was there for a murder because it was a burglary. And he shot and killed someone and shot another person that lived.
He pled guilty. Yeah.
So, yeah, he did attempt in April of 1991. And that failed. But then on October 9th, 1992, he did escape and it was successful. He was in an education room, whatever that means. And him and two other inmates climbed up the air vent. They were able to make their way up the air vent, which then eventually they made it to the roof. So they jumped from roof to roof till they got to the edge and they were able to make the 15-foot jump down out of the prison. I guess they got seen. They got sawed.
That's
sawed.
A whole different, that would be a whole different problem.
They got seen right away. Sounded the alarms. The chase was on. Within 48 hours.
They said them clambering down to the second layer of the roof made so much racket that the guy ran outside and it was actually a female officer runs outside and sees them.
Yeah.
They didn't get very far.
Well, they did because 48 hours later, the other two guys that he escaped with were captured, but he wasn't. They believe he stole a truck 2 miles away and he escaped. They think he could be in Washington. He could be in Oklahoma. They don't know exactly where he's at. So that's pretty much where Unsolved Mysteries leaves us. They want this guy. Supposed to be in prison for the rest of his life for murder. Are you ready for your update?
Give it to me, baby.
Captured. He wasn't actually apprehended until July 5th, 1993. So he made it almost a year. He was captured in Nebraska and sent back to prison. But do you think he stopped there?
Oh, no, guys. He doesn't. Yeah.
So he ends up bouncing around to a bunch of different penitentiaries and then in federal prisons.
Yep.
And on April 5th, 2006, he escapes again by mailing himself out of this federal prison.
Yep.
He mails himself out.
Yep.
And he escapes, goes to Canada. and wasn't captured until October of 2008. So he was free for
I have
over
2007 in here.
No, 2008 is captured in Canada. So I guess
I also read that while he was on the run in Canada, he vacationed back and forth between here and America, or America and Canada.
So he originally went to Canada on the west side, like Vancouver area. He had a stolen vehicle. He ran from the Canadian police there, then came back to the US, traveled across, went back into Canada on the east side. And
wasn't he caught by Border Patrol or Customs in Texas? Oh, that might have been someone else. He was on a train. Dang it. I thought that was him at one point. That's how or maybe they thought it was him at some point, but okay.
Yeah.
I swear it was today. I was reading something at one point. Maybe they thought he was on a train in Corpus Christi trying to get across the border. And so like Customs and Border Patrol were like checking the train tracks like crazy in that area.
So he got caught up there, sent back. He's now in maximum security. He's in a federal prison in Kentucky to this day.
Kentucky. All right.
Serving a life sentence plus a bunch of other sentences for escapes.
Of other sentences, yeah. So I wrote down some of his most popular escape tricks. Mm-hmm. One time he tried to escape by greasing his wrists with chapstick and slipped free from his handcuffs.
That's his original arrest one. That's how he got out.
So then crawling through the ventilation duct system I found out the reason he was in that education room was because the prisoners had gotten permission to watch a 3-hour screening of the movie The 10 Commandments. So they escaped during the movie.
Well, they weren't following the commandments.
They were not following the commandments. And then the last one was hiding inside a parcel of mail bags to slip past Louisiana's super max prison that he was in. Okay, so there is a video of him online and it's dash cam. So he was stopped by local law enforcement after he got out of that parcel of mail. I read about this. Okay. So all hands were on deck. So everyone's looking for this guy. So he breaks out of jail and ends up chatting and literally shooting the shiz with this honky-tonk little sheriff's guy, little patrol cop guy, just probably a beat cop, just a standard run-of-the-mill guy who's on the phone with the people at the prison trying to get a description. He can't really get anything solid. So they're just like shooting the breeze between the two of them for over 10 minutes on the dash cam. He ends up actually giving him 2 different names by accident. The cop doesn't catch it and like just tells him to be careful because he claims the reason he's all like sweaty and hot and dressed in this
out for a jog.
He was out for a jog. And on the dash cam is also the outside temperature. Like it's all the little information on the dash cam. It's 115 degrees outside. Middle of the day. He says he's out for a jog. And then it ends by him being like, hey man, just next time, word of the wise, if you're going out for a jog, make sure to just carry your ID with you in case you get stopped again. And it's likely you might get stopped again because you do match the description of the man that just fled prison. Have a good day. Sorry to bother you. At one point in the video, he even is like, well, if you were really him, you would have ran already. And so this was posted. I found the full video on Reddit, and on the Reddit thread, there is a man that posted this. A Reddit guy posted this. Ha ha ha, OMG. I retired from the federal system about a year ago, and this was shown to us every single year at an annual training of what not to do. Still to this day, it seems like this video is being circulated as like hey, learn a lesson from this guy's mistake. Actually, the guy, for someone who just escaped prison, plays it super cool. I mean, his acting skills, his ability to clearly he's known as like one of the most crazy escape artists because
he's a con man.
He's a con man.
Trying to get out of prison.
Yeah.
Because he knows, really, the end of the day, he's going to spend the rest of his life there. So why not try to get out?
Yeah. Okay. Well, everybody, that is our recap of season 5, episode 9. I will be honest, I just am now realizing that I did not prepare a silly question time or chitty chat time with Ben. So I thought real quick, Ben, since we did promise the people a few episodes ago, we would go over our kind of road trip of what we did for our little annual family vacation this summer. So I thought we could just talk about that for a few minutes, just kind of what we did on our road trip up to Salt Lake and call it good. Or is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I thought we already talked about that, but maybe I could be wrong.
I don't know. Maybe we are.
But I guess we can do it again. Or I'm wrong, which I usually don't remember things the best because I have the worst memory there is.
And I actually listen to our episodes when they come out and clock things when I'm like, oh, we said we were going to do that. And then we haven't yet. So we need to take care of it.
We got to take care of it.
Which reminds me, speaking of that, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Share us with a friend. And make sure to follow us on social media and Unsolved Couple Pod. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, unsolvedcouplepod@gmail.com. If you would like to support the show, there are 2 links below: a support the show link and a buy me a coffee link. Any and all things help us continue to bring you these stories every week. Okay. So Ben and I recently, with our family, took a road trip. We were going up to Salt Lake for a family wedding. We had an extra day of vacation and we have not, it's just been so hot here and we've been really busy. We haven't gone on a vacation. So we kind of tossed around the idea of it's a 12-hour drive, give or take, from Tucson to Salt Lake City. And we've done it a handful of times, straight shots, pretty simple to get up there.
It's a long day.
It's one long day, but we've got older kids who all have electronics that we can turn movies on. We listen to books. It's actually road trips with older kids is way easier than it was when they were little. So we talked about breaking it up and taking a day and a half-ish or so to get up there. So we got up early morning, 4 o'clock on Tuesday morning. I think we got up early and we were out the door by 6. I don't even know why, you guys. I'm asking Ben. He can't remember sometimes what happened 12 hours ago. So yes, I think we got up around 4. I think we actually left the house between 5 and 5:30. And we're out the door. Yeah,
you're right. Because it's 12 hours, isn't it?
We had a plan to see some of the silly things. This was not your standard, popular stops.
We didn't really take the interstate.
No, we took the scenic route. And actually, there was 2 scenic routes you could have taken. So one is through Flagstaff, kind of through an Indian reservation, and then through Moab, the
Page and Moab and
Mount Zion, right? Is that what it's called? Zion National Park and all of that. It's very pretty. Or you can go the other way, which crosses a little bit of Route 66 and through Kingman.
And goes to Vegas.
And goes through Vegas. And we decided to go that route. And we started our day off with our very first Buc-ee's experience. No one in our family has ever been to Buc-ee's.
There's only one in Arizona.
One in the state, and it only opened up maybe a month or 2 ago.
I don't even think it'd been a month when we hit it.
And you guys, you want to see chaos? A Buc-ee's opening up. The first one in the whole state.
I was when we went, it wasn't terrible, but we heard when it opened, it was crazy.
So I actually went on my way to Backstreet Boys. So a week later, but it was lunchtime-ish because we didn't leave, I think, till 10:30 here. It was chaos.
Oh, really?
Oh, it was insane. So apparently you need to get to Buc-ee's at 6 in the morning because that's when no one is there or whatever time we were there. It was pretty early. So what was your favorite part of Buc-ee's?
Their what did I have?
You got the breakfast burrito,
and it was really good.
It was.
The food is actually really good.
Yeah, I would say we didn't. We weren't in a hurry, but we did have a timeline of things that we needed to kind of keep going.
I will say, you hear like Buc-ee's has got like
people are like, oh, I've spent like an hour inside there. We didn't even go to the merch shop, though.
I went over there with my son.
Did? Okay.
And I walked through it real quick. I wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, I was there for food, road trip snacks, quick bathroom, and caffeine. Like that was my game plan.
Food, like the places they have for actual food is legit.
Yeah, your brisket burrito was amazing.
I don't even think I didn't get the brisket. So I think someone got the brisket taco.
I got the brisket taco, but yours had a combination of multiple meats, and one of them was brisket.
And it was, I got the breakfast burrito, and it was legit good.
It was so good. I got something also called a beaver tail, which is like this cinnamon sugar. It's like a cinnamon roll, but it's like a flat pastry, like a croissant sort of thing. And it's huge. That was probably my favorite thing next to like the breakfast food that we got. It was so good.
I'm not a big gas station food guy.
I don't safely to say I think most people don't recommend gas station food.
Yeah, but some people do it. Like especially
there was a place in Winston, Oregon. They had biscuits and gravy there, and it's like a little Chevron gas station off like the little tiny highway, whatever is there in Winston. Peak. Yeah.
No, but Buc-ee's, yeah, it was good.
Yeah. So after Buc-ee's, we headed up north and we stopped. We're stopping about like every 2.5 hours. We stopped at Nowhere, Arizona, which used to be this tiny little town. And the only thing.
Middle of nowhere.
It's middle of nowhere. And the only thing left is like a welcome to nowhere sign. And it's you can barely
make it out anymore.
Yeah. And so we dinked around there, and then we noticed afterwards that in most of our pictures there is penis drawings because people have spray painted bodily things on top of, because it's completely abandoned and been vandalized. So I had to be very precarious of our posting because there was spray painted peens everywhere. 10 out of 10, do not appreciate that. But it was a fun little stop. But there's nothing to do there. You just get out and like see the sign and leave. And then we went from there to Kingman and drove through Kingman. You can do like the Route 66. And Kingman is the town that Cars is based on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the Radiator Springs, like the mountain in the background and the whole vibe of the town, the shops and everything.
You can see where they got the inspiration for the shops. Flows. There's a body art place. My kids are also super into Percy Jackson, and part of Percy Jackson also takes place in Kingman, and where the Medusa, there is a Medusa or a ceramic shop there with all of these like hundreds and hundreds of outdoor like Greek statues and stuff like that. And so the kids were all excited to see different things from there. And then we got out there for a while. There's a museum there. Yeah, I was to say there's a Route 66 museum. Yeah, that's free. You can go in and look around. We didn't go through the paid part of the museum. We went just into the little one. Yeah, we went there to hang out. We didn't have as much time. And then this was Sarah's favorite part. My favorite place we went to, which I had actually seen this on my radar when we like early days of moving to Arizona, was a town called Oatman. I actually asked my best friend who's lived in Arizona her whole life, and she grew up in east side of northern Arizona, if she had heard of Oatman. She had never heard of it. So Oatman is completely abandoned ghost town. Nobody lives there full time. I don't think. There's some weird ramshack houses there. Don't think that they're being monitored, and I don't think they're up to code because they look like they're being held together by 2x4s in the ground. That had been condemned. Yeah. There was a lot of buildings that were condemned and shut down or fit to unsafe. But at one point, it was a thriving little metropolis town that had a very successful mine. And if you know anything about northern Arizona, a lot of the things that we used back in the day to get in and out of the mountains were burros. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know if there's a difference between a burro and a donkey. It's just a donkey. I'm sure people are going to write me in and let me know if there is a difference. Thank you. I will appreciate it. Just a donkey. But they are pack mules, right? They're used to get in and out of things, and they would carry stuff up. So when they left, because people would sometimes treat their work animals not the best, they literally left the donkeys there just to die. Assuming like no one's here to take care of them, they're going to die. They're not dead. The donkeys didn't die. They hang out and they get fed by people.
Yeah. So I don't know how the town shut down like a long time ago because it looks like a Western town. Like it's wooden buildings, like
wooden walkway.
Yeah.
It's
a rough town. It looks like it's from the Old West. And the Burrows have thrived there for generations. And they come into the town every day and spend the whole day there. And then I guess at night they leave and like go up to the grasslands area. But the whole town is inhabited by hundreds of donkeys. And they're so used, it's like Yellowstone, Old West style. They're so used to humans that they come up and they interact with you and you can pet them and feed them.
What happened to you, Sierra?
And I got bit as we were leaving.
Because he wanted the food in your hand.
Yeah. So we were leaving Oatman. Because here's the thing, you just kind of walk down the town. It's a long drive for not a huge payoff, but it was fun because that's what we were there to do. And I had a bag it still had some food in it. And there was one donkey left kind of at the very edge of town as we were walking towards our car. And as I was walking past him, I went to reach into my bag because I was going to just give him the rest of my food. I know how to feed animals. I have been feeding horses and things like that and goats and donkeys since I was a child. I grew up with these animals and I put my hand in the bag to grab the food. And as I was pointing out, he latched on top of the bag. Like my hand was in the bag and went to like rip the bag out of my hand, but my hand was in the process of coming out and like locked down. And donkeys' teeth are flat and they are sharp. My hand came out bleeding.
He got you good.
He got me good. And I had to pop his jaw open because he had latched on because he realized he thought he had something in his mouth, but it was just my hand. So he wasn't going to let go. But yeah, I got bit by a donkey. Thankfully, because I think my biggest concern was like, dude, I don't know how clean these guys' mouths are. Now I've got and it was like stinging for a long time. But there's no bathrooms even in this town. So we got out of Oatman, stopped. I washed my hands, cleaned it up. We were good. And then.
Which is off topic.
Mm-hmm.
What's funny is there's a federal prison in Florence here.
Mm-hmm.
They have a program there and they take in wild Mustangs and donkeys.
Oh, I didn't realize they also why did they take in donkeys?
They train them.
For what purpose?
They have put little carts behind them and they ride on these little carts with them.
Oh my goodness.
And they train them. The inmates get to do this.
I know that this is not the point, but there is a part of me that thinks that's really unfair that I would get 3 square meals a day, a bed, and for daytime fun, I get to go hang out with my donkey I'm training.
And then
How do I sign up for this program without being a federal inmate?
They train these things, and then they auction them off. And the donkeys go for like $100, $150.
Why have we not bought a donkey?
Where am I going to put a donkey?
In our backyard, they don't take up a lot of space.
It's just wild to me.
Yeah.
It's funny. Anyways.
And then I think from there we went on to St. George, and we actually had a great time in St. George. We stayed at the Hampton Inn in St. George. If anybody is ever looking for a hotel in St. George, first off, it was one of the cheapest places to stay. The customer service there was impeccable.
The breakfast was
good. We've had some really shizzy experiences at hotels over the last couple of years. I think since COVID, some hotels have like not recouped in how we treat people. And sometimes the prices are insane. And I will say, this Hampton Inn, everybody there the employees were happy. So whoever's managing it and keeping their employees happy, way to go. The food was great. We ordered in wingers, which we don't have here in Arizona, and played board games and hung out and had an amazing time, and then got
Cars.
Yeah, we did. The kids all wanted to watch Cars, which I thought was adorable. We all 66. Like snuggled up in 2 queen beds, and we have 3 teenagers, basically getting to have all 3 of them like snuggle up in bed together and watch a Disney movie was like a mom win moment for me. And then we ended the little road trip before we left for Salt Lake. We got up super early in the morning.
It was really hot.
It was very hot. And we went rock hounding at Glitter Mountain.
That is the name of it.
Yeah, that is the name of it. So, of course, I was on it. Ben was skeptical. Him driving our minivan down the 2-mile dirt road was very entertaining.
Well, it's longer than 2 miles. It was like 4 or 5 down the dirt road.
Ben was at a 10 the whole way up and down that road.
Get a flat. It's a bad day.
We weren't really that far in. We have AAA. See, you guys, this is our different personalities. I'm like, it's fine. We'll figure it out. We've got water and food in the car. I could see the main road from where we were. We could have walked to the main road. It's no big deal. We have AAA. It'll get figured out. And then Ben's driving 3 miles an hour the whole way down the dirt road, like so stressed that like we're going to get a tire popped. And I'm like, turn on the country music and let's get after it. I'm not going to point any fingers about who the fun one is in our relationship. You could just take what you want from that story and make your own determination. And then we went off to Salt Lake and had a good time with our family and got to go to our niece's wedding, and it was beautiful and fun, and we had a good time.
There you go, win-win.
All right, okay, well, there you guys go. If anyone in their mother is even still listening to this, we hope you guys have an amazing week. Stay safe, and join us again here next week where Ben and I will recap another episode of
Unsolved Mysteries.
Bye.